Our next guest, we're about to go to our first break. So this guest, he's going to bring us into that break. He's speaking on the First Amendment, and I'm very glad we have him because he has some very controversial views on 9/11, the New World Order, the shadow government, all these things. And I guarantee you, if you see some of the stuff he's worked on, like 9/11, Loose Change, Fabled Enemies, and some other stuff, you're gonna be like, this guy is like conspiracy theorist, flat out, controversial. But you know what? He's speaking on the First Amendment. And this country is great because it allows people like him, whether you believe him or not, to say what he feels is something you should know. And as someone once said, the First Amendment isn't about protecting popular speech. Popular speech doesn't need protection. It's the unpopular speech that the First Amendment was written for. And this guy is an epitome of, I hate to say what many, well not as many as used to be, we call unpopular speech, Mr. Jason Bermas.
First I want to thank Gigi Bowman for putting this on. I know how difficult it is to get people to come to these things, to support these things. Firsthand, I've done a lot of them. I think we've all organized them. It's not easy, guys. None of this work is easy. You know, the majority, if not all of the people that are going to speak at this event have really, you know, traveled the road less traveled. You know, they're down that road, and it's not an easy thing. And when I'm talking about the First Amendment, I mean, I was originally going to come in here and talk a lot more about citizen activism. And, you know, kind of like the documentary films I make, people like Luke Radowski, who's out in the hall right now, somebody I've known for over a decade. And to me, you know, I don't have a lot of heroes, but this guy is my friend and my hero. He has approached some of the most powerful people on the planet, whether they be government entities, corporate entities, and asked them very poignant and tough questions. And not only him, but he started an organization where people have done it globally. And he was actually very, very good to me and allowed me to use two of the clips from other We Are Changers confronting Ted Turner in the documentary we're going to show about 10 minutes of, but it's later in the doc, those things. But they're amazing confrontations. If you haven't seen them, they're on YouTube, they're in the film. I make all of my films and release them day one for free for everybody out there on YouTube. So if you don't get a DVD copy, that's okay. Please share the link. If you do get a DVD copy, make copies, hand them out, have screenings. That's what I'm trying to do. Because we have a group in here. I would like to see every seat filled. I'd like to see people who are at the other event asking questions about this one, because it's not about preaching to the choir. Now, before I set this clip up that we're going to watch, I want to talk about something that happened earlier in the week. Net neutrality. Is anybody familiar with the end of net neutrality now? Okay. This is a big deal. And I, like most of you, don't trust a lot of what the government says and a lot of these government agencies, and they don't have great track records. And I was probably an opponent of net neutrality when it was first proposed by the FCC. However, they have done what they said they were going to do. They have kept the internet open for all lawful websites. They have stopped big corporations from tearing down and capping your data, and that's all over now. And that means a lot of different things. This lawsuit by Verizon, if we don't challenge it, means that you could be capped at 300 gigabytes for your month. So it'll be a lot like your cell phone plan. Or you may not be able to access Google. They'll let you use Bing if they're in with it. For instance, Comcast is in bed with NBC, is in bed with Amazon. It's one corporate entity. Well, why would they let you stream Netflix? And why would they give you another news source such as CNN and Fox News if they're competitors? And all of these corporations probably don't like the Infowars.coms of the world, the IntelliHub.coms of the world, people that I've worked with, We Are Change, people like Danny Panzel, people like Gary Franchi, Next News Networks, real trailblazers in trying to bring free media to the globe that matters, real media. They're probably not big fans of RT either. You know, Abby Martin, Breaking the Set, I'm a big fan, I've known her for a long time, good friend, she does great work. And they could block these sites outright. Or they could give you tiered access to each of these sites. This is a big problem. One of the things that the internet has done on a technological playing field is even that playing field. No one out there 100% trust their news networks anymore, especially with the Snowden revelations. Okay, so more and more people are going to these alternative avenues. Well, what happens when those alternative avenues are now cut off? So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that after this clip. And what this clip is, this is my latest film. If you're unfamiliar with me, I'm one of the guys that was part of the Loose Change team. I did a film called Fabled after that, discussing the intelligence organizations that were actually involved in 9/11 instead of physical anomalies, the ISI, the Israeli Mossad, the Saudi Arabians, the shadow government, or COG, continuity of government program here at home. After that, I did my big picture documentary, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined. Like many of you out there, I thought the New World Order was nothing more than conspiracy theory, something right-wingers talked about, something religious zealots talked about. Well, I can assure you, it is something the most powerful people on the planet have a vision for. And they may not all share the same exact vision, but they do share a vision for global governance where they and their associates are at the top. And unelected global governance at that. So that's why I did that movie. This latest film is my first movie without a narration, without a script. On DSLR, high definition, trying to bring that production value even further and bring people in that don't know what's going on in the world. And the first section is about the Bilderberg Group, because a lot of people have not gotten beyond that right-left paradigm that has been ingrained in our brains, but I promise you, both sides of that coin are at this table right here. So let's watch 10 minutes of it, and then I'm going to wrap it up, and then we're going to have lunch, okay? Not have audio, guys? Okay. So what do I have to do with this? No. Yeah, I'm in. I thought I was in it right here. I think this has to be hooked up to something else.
Okay. That would essentially pull the strings of society from behind the scenes.
The Bilderberg Group is a group of world leaders, CEOs, heads of banking institutions that meet every year and decide what's going to happen throughout that next year.
The media has largely ignored this organization over the past 50 plus years. And even today, when it is mentioned, it's mentioned in a manner in which you shouldn't be asking about it.
Not everyone in the media, however, is in on it. It's kind of this sense that they get of what not to talk about, what may be considered to be taboo.
Well, I'm here in my capacity as a journalist, covering it for this event for the London Guardian.
I remember you were sent down here, like 2 or 3 years ago to Bilderberg for the first time?
2009. And yeah, so I thought it'd be funny, I said, no one covers this, maybe I should go along and maybe it'll be a laugh. And it turned into an absolute nightmare. I got chased around Athens and ended up wrestling a secret policeman in a subway station. It was mental.
Because the mainstream media in the United States has never covered it until now. When the killings overseas was that was a big deal. The U.S. government for research that was held. At first, we would laugh at it, fast, but that's what it was. It was real. And media said it existed. So it's the fact that they let that jet our minds. This doesn't exist. If I can get out of these limousines,
The mainstream media is now acknowledging that these world leaders are meeting, except for there's nothing to worry about. They're not doing anything sinister, even though they meet behind closed doors.
Instead of being humble and saying, I don't know what the truth, we never do as journalists, all we can do is try to ask questions and do our research. And that's very important for journalists to do. To act like you know everything, and to act like what you know is the most important thing, is pretty much the attitude of mainstream media.
They kind of just sit there and repeat what it is being shown on the television screen rather than thinking for themselves.
We've been programmed to believe certain things. We've been programmed to, when we hear certain buzzwords, we immediately close ourselves off to that information.
The guys in here who are deciding on foreign policy, these are the people who are setting the price of gold, setting the price of oil, deciding who's going to be presidents, who's going to be prime ministers. They operate in the shadows. They do not want to be seen. They don't want anybody to know that they are here.
All board members, attendees, there's one of the irregulars over this. All of this call for internet ID. So they start taxing that and tracking. That's what China uses. We just drove up to the security now, and basically showed our press cards and said, can you show us to the press center? And there's no press center. Can we speak to someone who represent the organization to the press? president. That's not good. They're resolutely failing to nurture any kind of proper and grown-up relationship with the press, which is just kind of lame.
The people of the planet are waking up and getting past the puppets. This is about saying, hey, the puppets in D.C. are just front men.
The powerful elite hide behind the curtain of government. They hide behind the wall, the facade of government. And really they're just a tiny dot that control the masses.
These are the shadow masters. These are the people that actually decide who runs and wins in office.
Tony Blair, 2 years before, he came from nowhere to become prime minister, was here and basically was certified. Bill Clinton, Bill Governor, Pennsylvania, fast track, they like it. It's on. Thomas Sanders, John Edwards, Gordon Brown, John Kerry. Obama was here 4 years ago. Talking to Voices Inside, the song.
We're big on talking about how we can elect our leaders. Yes, we can elect our leaders, but you can't select your leaders. You don't select anyone. Your masters who own you will select who will run. That's all they want to know. Just which one do you like best? It doesn't mean much of anything.
The rule of the few, oligarchy, is on the whole the most common in human history.
Through a long legacy, incrementalism, and perseverance, the globalists have managed to sprinkle their people in, essentially salt their people into various governmental positions worldwide. They plan wars, they plan money inflation, they plan deflation.
My estimate is there are about 30 million Americans who really need a job and who can't get one. So, depression level. This is depression. This is as bad or worse than the depression of the 1930s.
They plan collapses, they plan takeovers of rogue nations.
An organized, controlled system of humans and manipulated resources controlled by tiny oligarchical elite.
Well, Superman in one of the movies said he stands for the American way, freedom, liberty, and justice for all. Well, I like what Dick Gregory said. You're no longer free or brave. You might want to, for the first time in your life, start thinking seriously about where you're going and where your country is going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you wake up one day to discover your freedoms are gone, your country is gone, your protections that were guaranteed to you as a citizen are gone.
Well, it's outrageous. Our government's been taken over by the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower wrote us about in his farewell address in '61. Our money's being taken. They're announcing 30,000 drones, armed drones, to surveil us. The CIA says they're listening to our phones now without warrants.
The real leaders are going to talk now. Mommy and Daddy are going to talk now. And when they come out of the meeting, it's always wars, economic despair, and eugenics. I haven't seen anything good come out of the Bilderberg Group.
As the global elite are escalating their agendas, we have to equally bring up our efforts to document these events, cover these events, and make sure that the Bilderberg Group gets exposed for what they're doing inside there.
The mainstream media has become less and less relevant over the years and will continue to become less and less relevant as technology emerges for you and me to bring this information to the masses, to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions.
Because technology, once again, is that avenue of upward mobility that would allow somebody to challenge your status as an oligarch, right?
The Financial Times in London writer, who's a foreign editor, wrote now for world government, saying, yeah, we're authoritarian, yeah, we were secret, it's fear of being the best. He's here today. The only press that's here can literally say, I want authoritarian government. He actually wrote that. He said, yes, we're secret, yes, we're authoritarian, because we know best. At the top of the pyramid, it's a neo-feudalistic fascist model that uses socialism on the ground to communalize and get people dependent. So it's like a false socialism. But the public thinks they're buying into it as a way to lift up the poor and stuff. It's really designed to implode societies and to create a post-industrial world controlled
disciplined and have been taught to bow down and curtsy before royalty.
If you're an oligarch, you say, I get to rule. Why should you get to rule? Are you smarter than this guy over here? I have a technician who can do things you can't do. Why should you rule? What is it about you? Well, my family, my antiquity. Maybe that's not good enough. If we have a society where people believe in technology and science, they will not tolerate oligarchical domination.
If we don't stand up and take a responsibility for ourselves to stop this globalist agenda, we're looking at a world where our children don't understand what freedom is. We're already seeing that world now. The children born post 9/11 don't understand what it's like to live without the NDAA, without the Patriot Act.
You have left your government in the hands of other people to take care of things for you because you're too busy with your everyday life. Well, when you leave your personal business and your children and your life in the hands of someone else to take care of you, they're going to take care of you all right. Whatever decision they make, they're going to take care of themselves, not you. Because you left yourself in their care, they will decide what you will eat. They will decide what you will wear. They will decide if you will have a job or not. I will decide how much you will make. And you can bet that I'm going to make 1,000 times more than you do.
There's a little 10-minute snippet of my latest 90-minute documentary. And to get back to this issue of the First Amendment, I'm going to quote Voltaire here. I may not agree with you, but I will defend till the day I die, till my very death, your right to say that. And there are plenty of people that put things out that are completely revolting or without basis. But we have to protect that speech so somebody like myself and yourself can say something that's controversial, that's against the norm. It's the only way we're going to progress in this society against the power structure. And I'm sorry, but the power structure has gone completely out of control supernova at this point, where they can literally admit, something I've been saying now for the better part of a decade, that they are tracking, tracing, and databasing our every digital move, and beyond that, and putting it into algorithms and software and profiling us, and no one is up in arms. The media touts what Barack Obama did 2 days ago, going up before everybody and saying, we're not going to do it anymore, and if I want to spy on world leaders, I'll just call them. And we're just going to accept that? It is complete insanity. And for those that don't know, these Snowden revelations really aren't that much of a revelation. My film Invisible Empire contains Mark Klein and other whistleblowers in AT&T who blew the whistle in the late 90s, yes, before 9/11, folks, where he was setting up secret server rooms in AT&T's building that would siphon off every piece of digital communication that went through there. Your phone calls, your text messages, your internet traffic, all of it. They've been doing it for well over a decade. Look into Carnivore, look into Promise. This is software that's been openly known through congressional and Senate hearings to the public. And Klein and 30 other people tried to go to court twice, folks, twice, and were rejected both times because of the National Security Act. And, Klein's still out there. He recently did a commercial on the Snowden revelations with some Hollywood celebrities. No one's talking about this, and they need to be. We need to dismantle an infrastructure that spies on its own people and doesn't have our best interests at heart. And the only way we're going to do that is by maintaining our freedom of speech, especially on the internet. And that's why we have to fight this net neutrality, because if we allow this to pass and we allow limited internet, it is literally like burning books of the global library. Stuff you will never have access to, ever, that needs to be heard and seen. So guys, I hope that you check out my material, you get some of it, you make copies, you hand them out to people, and you share this information. And most of all, after you find some of this stuff out, get involved. The last section of this film is what we can do, and what you can do as a person to take control of your own life. I don't expect everybody out there to be on the picket lines, to be out there doing something every day, but that doesn't mean you can't take charge of the food you eat in your household, you can't take charge of your city council, you can't go to PTA meetings and make your kids' school a better one. And that's how we're going to do it, by getting active. Thank you very much.